You were not born to be average? A modern-day battle cry drawn from the soul of Napoleon Hill's timeless wisdom, forged in the fire of ambition, purpose, and personal awakening. Opening hook. The awakening: you were not born to be average. You weren't built to blend in, settle down, or die with dreams still buried in your chest. You didn't come here to float through life like a leaf in the wind. You came to build, to forge. To fight, to rise, you were carved from the same dust as giants. The same fire that lit up Edison's mind. The same obsession that drove Carnegie, Ford, and Rockefeller. It's in you. Dormant, maybe. Not gone. Not dead. The world has spent your whole life trying to convince you you're ordinary. Your job is to obey, to follow, to fit in, to do what you're told. They trained your ambition to be polite. They taught your power to play small. But your soul has never forgotten. And that whisper you keep hearing, the one that echoes at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep, that's not doubt. That's your calling. That's the voice of your real self. The one who knows you were never meant to be average. Mindset. The seed of everything you become. Everything begins in the mind, not in the bank account. Not in the resume, not in the family name. The mind is the furnace. It is the engine room. And the beliefs you allow inside it will either build your empire or bury your future. Andrew Carnegie once said, "The man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled." And he lived it because he knew wealth doesn't begin with money. It begins with belief. You don't rise by talent. You rise by thought. By thinking higher, deeper, sharper than the man beside you. The man with a weak mind waits for approval, waits for conditions, waits for clarity. But the one with a forged mind moves because he has trained his thoughts to obey his vision, not his fear. And if you want to escape average, that is the first law. Train your mind until it bows to your purpose. Belief. The law that bends reality. Napoleon Hill didn't just write a philosophy. He created a weapon, and that weapon was belief. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, conceive and believe. Not just dream, not just wish. Believe with such intensity, such focus, such obsession that the world has no choice but to rearrange itself around your certainty. Do you understand the gravity of that? Belief is not passive. It's not cute. It's not spiritual fluff. It is power. The man who believes he will win will eventually find a way to. The man who doubts himself, even with all the skills, will collapse the moment the pressure hits. You don't get to the top by being the smartest. You get there by believing in your vision so deeply. It infects every cell in your body. It rewires your identity. It forces your actions. It becomes the lens through which you see the entire world. Your belief must be so loud that when fear knocks, faith answers the door. Vision, seeing it before it exists. You can't build what you can't see, and you can't become what you haven't envisioned. Walt Disney saw castles before there was concrete. He saw fireworks before there was funding. He walked through entire theme parks in his mind before the world even believed in color animation. That's vision. It's not wishful thinking. It's divine obsession. Vision is the soul's map. It is the image that pulls you when motivation dies. It is the future version of you calling you forward. Step by painful step. If your life feels directionless, it's not because you lack talent. It's because you haven't committed to a vision that's big enough to command your focus. A man without vision will always serve the one who has it. So ask yourself, what do you see when you close your eyes? Do you see mediocrity, or do you see greatness? Because until your internal image matches your external goal, you'll keep self-sabotaging. Your outer world is just your inner world in disguise. Purpose, the fire that outlives you. You were not born to just work, pay bills, and die. You were born to fulfill a purpose so explosive, so raw, so uniquely yours that the world gets better because you answered the call. Lincoln didn't rise because he wanted money. He rose because he couldn't ignore injustice, because his purpose burned brighter than his fears. Your purpose is the flame. It's what makes the suffering bearable. It's what makes the failures worth it. Without purpose, life becomes tolerable. And a tolerable life is the slowest death of all. Purpose is not found. It's claimed. It's built. It's bled for. And it doesn't come through comfort. It comes through calling, through listening to the voice inside that says, I was made for more. And if you don't follow that voice, it will torment you until your last breath. Discipline. Invisible edge, let me give you a truth most people will never tell you. Discipline is more important than motivation. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is identity. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Discipline says, it doesn't matter. The men and women who rise are not the ones who feel inspired every morning. They're the ones who work while the rest of the world sleeps. They're the ones who show up when it's boring, when it's brutal, when it's inconvenient. Michael Jordan didn't become a legend because he felt like practicing. He became a legend because he did it anyway. Discipline is the price of freedom. And most will never pay it because it costs comfort. It costs leisure. It costs your old self. But pay it, and you buy yourself a life most will never touch. Action, the bridge between dreams and reality. You want success, you better move. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. The dreamers are many. The doers, few. Tesla wasn't built by a committee. Amazon wasn't built by luck. Apple wasn't built by playing it safe. They were built by men who acted while the world watched. Confused. By men who executed while others hesitated. The longer you wait, the louder doubt gets. The longer you stall, the heavier fear becomes. But the moment you move, you gain power. You gain clarity. You start a fire. Action cures fear. Motion builds momentum. And momentum is a snowball that turns into a landslide. The man who acts relentlessly will eventually surpass the one who plans endlessly. Gratitude, the multiplier of abundance. Gratitude is not weakness. It is strategy. The more you appreciate, the more power you attract. Because gratitude tunes your frequency to wealth, to clarity, to purpose. Carnegie practiced it. Hill wrote about it. And every master of abundance lives by it. When you stop focusing on what you lack, you unlock what you already have. And from that space you build, from that stage you rise. Gratitude is the language of kings. And if you want to live like one, speak it daily. Resilience, unbreakable spirit. You will fall. You will bleed. You will get betrayed, ridiculed, misunderstood. You will not break. Because resilience is the backbone of the uncommon. Lincoln lost multiple elections. Edison failed 1,000 times. Disney was told he lacked imagination. But they rose. Again. And again. And again. Because resilience is not about bouncing back. It's about becoming unshakable. You were not born to be average. You were born to rise after every collapse. To smile through storms. To lead when others quit. The final ascent. Answer the call. You were not born to be average. That sentence should haunt you. It should echo in your bones. You weren't born to live a quiet life of polite compliance. You weren't born to shrink so others feel comfortable. You weren't born to dim your fire because they fear your light. You were born to lead. To build. To become. To rise. So high your name becomes a permission slip for someone else to believe. So burn the mask. Kill the excuses. And look in the mirror until the fire returns. Because the world doesn't need more safe people. It needs awakened ones. You were not born to be average. You were born to become a legend. A war against your old self. The biggest war you will ever fight will not be against the market. It won't be against your boss. It won't even be against your circumstances. It will be against you. The old you. The comfortable you. Undisciplined you who would rather scroll than sacrifice. The average version of you who's terrified of risk, terrified of greatness, terrified of finally becoming someone worthy of their own respect. Let me be clear, you will not rise until you kill who you used to be. You cannot drag your old identity into your new destiny. You cannot take weakness into war and expect to survive. And that's what success is, a war between the man you are and the one you could be. And most people lose because they make peace with comfort and negotiate with mediocrity. They shake hands with distraction. But legends burn the bridge. They don't leave a way back. They go all in dot, and then they build the next version of themselves with fire and discipline. So I ask you, are you ready to bury who you've been? Asterisk, because that's the cost. That's the price of entry into a life most will never touch. Sacrifice, unpaid toll of greatness. You want to be great. You're going to lose things. You're going to lose friendships. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to lose comfort. You're going to lose parts of your old identity that kept you small for far too long. Because the path to greatness is paved in sacrifice. Every master gave up something the average man would never consider. Thomas Edison worked 18 hours a day for years. He didn't just sacrifice time, he sacrificed comfort, health, and even relationships to bring his vision to life. Now the world remembers his name because he was willing to pay what others wouldn't. So what are you willing to give up? You want millions, you want mastery, you want freedom. Then you have to sacrifice like your life depends on it. Because it does. Conviction, a weapon of unshakable people. Conviction is what makes men immortal. It's the fuel that kept Nelson Mandela alive through 27 years of imprisonment. It's what kept Martin Luther King marching through hatred and death threats. It's what made Elon Musk bet everything twice. On visions everyone mocked. They didn't need certainty, had conviction. And you're waiting for the stars to align. You're waiting for signs, signals, and guarantees before you even start. That's not how legends are built. That's how they die before they begin. Conviction means you walk forward anyway. You move when no one believes. You act when there's no applause. No cheering, no safety net. Because when your why is strong enough, your doubts become irrelevant. So stop waiting for the world to believe in you. Believe in yourself so violently, so loudly, so relentlessly that the world has no choice but to follow. Mastery, the relentless pursuit of excellence. You weren't born to dabble. You weren't born to be good enough. You were born to master something, not to try, not to experiment, to dominate. Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." That's what separates legends from amateurs. They don't just do it once. They repeat, they refine, they obsess. Most people give up after 10 tries. Masters go 10,000. Average is the byproduct of divided focus. Mastery is the result of total commitment. If you want to be remembered, master something so deeply, so completely, that people associate your name with it. Become the standard. Become the symbol. Become the one everyone else studies in silence. Time, the currency you can't reclaim. You think you have time. You think you have next year, next month. After I feel ready, let me shatter that illusion. You don't. Steve Jobs was worth billions, but he couldn't buy back a single minute once his time was up. Time is the one currency the poor and the rich spend equally. But the wise treat time like gold. The wise protect their hours like diamonds. Because they know how you use your time determines who you become. Every second you waste is stolen from your future. Every hour you lose to distraction is another hour the next man uses to beat you. So ask yourself, what are you trading your time for? What did you give your life energy to this week? Did it build you or break you? Because one day the clock runs out. And the only thing that will matter is what you did with what you had. Environment. You rise or rot by association. Show me your circle, and I'll show you your future. You think you can rise while surrounded by average. You think you can dominate while bathing in mediocrity. Impossible. You either elevate your environment or your environment destroys your elevation. Hill called it the mastermind, a group of people who sharpen you, push you, challenge you, expose your blind spots, force you to grow. So who's in your corner? Are you surrounded by victims or victors, by comfort seekers or fire breathers? Because your environment is either oxygen or poison. Choose wisely. If you want to fly, stop walking with those who are afraid to leave the ground. Legacy. The echo after you're gone. What are you building that will outlive you? You chase money, fame, attention, but all of it dies with you. What remains is what you built in others. What remains is the impact you made. Lincoln's words still ring through history. Disney's imagination still touches billions. Carnegie's libraries still educate generations. We're not gods. We're not born chosen. They simply refuse to be average. And so I ask you, what will they say about you when you're gone? Will you be remembered, or will you be another nameless soul who played it safe? You weren't born to fade. You were born to build something that shatters the silence long after your voice is gone. The final climb, burn the excuses, become the legend. So here we are. You and the truth. No more hiding. No more pretending. You were not born to be average. That fire in your gut, that ache in your chest, that craving to be more than you are, it's not a fantasy. It's your calling. It's destiny tapping on your soul, asking if you're finally ready to stop playing small. And yes, it will hurt. Yes, you will lose things. Yes, you will suffer, but you will also become. You will evolve. You will rise. And in the end, when the world finally catches up, when they ask, how did you do it? How did you rise while we waited? You'll look them in the eyes with steady fire and say, because I refused to be average, because I remembered who I was. The final words, rise now or regret forever. The average life ends quietly. No resistance. No climax. No glory. But that's not your fate unless you choose it. The truth is, you don't need another book. You don't need another mentor. You don't need another motivational quote. You just need one thing, a decision to rise, a decision to become, a decision to destroy the man who waits and awaken the one who moves. So this is it. Your time. Your chance. Your moment. Stand up. Look in the mirror and say it with everything you are. I was not born to be average. I was born to become the greatest version of myself. And starting now, I will. Now go. Burn the limits. Shatter the walls. And build the life they told you was impossible. Because you weren't born to be average. You were born to lead.